Now the earth was a formless void. There was darkness over the deep, and God's Spirit hovered over the water. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Let there be light, and there was light. And when the deacon brought in the paschal candle at the beginning of tonight's liturgy, he sang out, "Lumen Christi," the light of Christ. Well, the liturgy is full of symbols, but light is the first. One of the rules for this liturgy is that it must take place during the night, beginning after nightfall and ending before daybreak. And we began with a fire that gave light. Then the light of the single candle lit our own and filled the darkness of the church. Then Father Keith sang the Exultet, and light was praised again. Then the readings began, and the first one had, "God said, let there be light," and there was light. Famous words from the beginning of the creation account in Genesis. They define the first day of creation. Light is what God first makes. Everything else, even strangely, the sun, the moon, and the stars, come after. Well, light is everywhere tonight, and light does come first. I remember a village in Ghana. It was near the time of elections, and this particular village was not on the grid. It had no mains electricity. And with delightful West African humor, the village was full of signs saying, "No light, no vote." Well, no light, no anything. Above all, no life. Plant life, animal life, human life, all depend on light. Our brains depend on it. When we're deprived of light, we suffer neurologically, emotionally, psychologically. We become depressed and unmotivated. We start to wither. But where there's light, we live. We can do things. We can see one another. We can communicate and relate. Our whole human life unfolds. Pope Benedict said this: to say that God created light means that God created the world as a space for knowledge and truth, as a space for encounter and freedom, as a space for good and for love. And God doesn't take back his word. He always says that word, "Let there be light." Every morning can remind us of that. But he also says, in a second, fuller sense, "Let there be light," and there is light. Over the darkness of Jesus' tomb, over the darkness of a city which thought it had just snuffed out the light of the world, over a world living in darkness and the shadow of death, God said, "Let there be light," and there was. Jesus rose from the dead. To quote Pope Benedict again, the night on the Mount of Olives, the solar eclipse of Jesus' passion and death, the night of the grave had all passed. Now it is the first day once again. Creation is beginning anew. "Let there be light," says God, and there was light. Jesus rises from the grave. Life is stronger than death. Good is stronger than evil. Love is stronger than hate. Truth is stronger than lies. The darkness of the previous days is driven away the moment Jesus rises from the grave and himself becomes God's pure light. And here's Pope Francis, just the other day, talking of the Paschal Vigil, singing the same song. At times, the darkness of night seems to penetrate the soul. At times we think there is no longer anything to be done, and the heart no longer finds the strength to love. But it is precisely in that darkness that Christ lights the flame of God's love, a gleam that breaks through the darkness, presage of a new beginning. This is the great mystery of Easter. On this holy night, the Church gives us the light of the resurrection, so that we no longer have inside us the regret of saying, by now, by now I should have been married, or by now I should be chairman of BP, or by now I should be the Pope. No, we no longer, he says, Pope Francis, have the regret of saying by now, but rather the hope of one who opens up to a present full of the future. Well, you will have noticed, I hope, a beautiful thing in the sequence of readings. Creation begins on the first day of the week, our Sunday. That is the day God creates light. And Jesus rises on the first day of the week. It's a sign that a new creation has begun. He is the light. Well, now that's familiar. But notice too what the angel says to the women. We just heard it. Go and tell his disciples and Peter, he is going before you to Galilee. It is there you will see him. So our first reading begins with God creating light, and our last ends with the disciples being told, you will see. You will see the risen Christ. This is the light of faith. St. Paul puts it beautifully, for it is the God who said, let light shine out of darkness, who has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Christ. Well, in a few moments, the faithful and merciful God is going to say these words again in a third way. Let there be light, and there will be. He's going to say it over Natalie and Nyamata and Cruzel and Ebubechi. He says it as they profess the faith and are baptized, because faith is a light and baptism is an illumination. The Lord is going before them. He has been doing so already. Surely you know, the four of you. He has been taking you by the hand, and like Peter and the disciples, you will see him, and your hearts will rejoice. Any darkness in you will be scattered, and you will be light in the Lord. God said, let there be light. That light is the risen Christ, but tonight it becomes you as well. Tonight, those old words in Genesis, those words for the beginning of things, become young, new, and true in you. And when Nancy, James, Melissa, and Alison are received into full communion, that light will grow still more. And again, when Henny, Michael, and Talent are confirmed with the others, and then the candles of us all will be lit again, and we will renew our baptismal vows. No light, no vote, said the villagers. But there is light, this other light, and we will vote. We will say, I do believe. So, brothers and sisters, on this most radiant night, let's all put away the deeds of darkness. Let's live as children of light. And here's a thought to end with. You never know, but for some of us, certainly, this may be our last Easter Vigil. By the time the next one comes, we may be dead, as they say in Aberdeen. We may have entered the darkness of death. Well, let this encourage us to keep the light alive. And if we do, as the angel said, then there is no need for alarm. In that last darkness, God will say these words over us again, a fourth time. Let there be light, and there will be, and we will see. We will see Jesus gone before us into heaven, and we will live.